$44,688.
And nobody else did these? Anybody else did? Oh, okay, all right. You did them?
Yeah.
Is it roughly the same
I got
number?
close, but
Okay.
not exactly.
Yeah, no, that's okay. A lot of that is, by the way, the number of characters you take your calculator out to. What do we get for 40 years?
$1,478,412.
So that difference is 300 and some odd thousand bucks. Okay, but you did look good at your 40th reunion. Okay. Hopefully at, well, hell, 40, 30, well, 37. Still be driving a Camaro. Maybe 55. Okay here? This is what you could have gotten if you stayed in the 40 years you had intended. This is what you got because you stopped contributing to do something for your 40th reunion. You needed $15,000, which you would not have to contribute. What else? What's the next one, I guess?
You've won the lottery, congratulations. However, given that you are profligate.
No, profligate.
Profligate,
There we go.
sorry.
Remember, we know what profligate is, right? Okay. Sometimes that's actually a question. What does it mean to be profligate?
You decide to sell the 20-year lottery winnings of $50,000 today. You think an appropriate discount rate is 8%. How would the person who is buying your lottery winnings profit in this case? Show me
Okay.
your answer is correct.
Okay. What was the payment, 50 grand?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we believe an appropriate rate is 8%, we can figure out what we think the present value of this series of cash flows is to us, right? We think 8% is an appropriate rate. Anybody, what'd you get for this answer?
$490,937.
490937.
Yeah.
Close?
I didn't do that one because I did the
Oh.
2010 test and had the
Okay.
question.
Okay, so we've got our value. We think that at an 8% rate of return, that we ought to get $490,937 for this thing. Well, J.G. Wentworth or one of these other people that likes to buy these settlements can only make money by doing what? Yeah, they have to make profit, so they have to offer me what? Less than $490,937. Okay, that's really the answer to the question, and that's what J.G. Wentworth will do, right? I mean, they'll figure out, okay, they're going to argue that a 10% rate of return is more appropriate here. Of course, the present value of something comes down when the rate of discount goes up, and that's where you get into an argument with them. But that's the nice thing about knowing at least what you think is an appropriate price for this before you go waltzing into one of their offices and say, hey, what will you pay me for the right to receive this, these series of equal periodic payments, get the present value of it right now. This is a good place to start your negotiations. Now, are you ever going to get $499.37? The answer is probably not. I mean, if 8% is a legitimate rate in the marketplace, because J.G. Wentworth has to make money to stay in business and run all those ads. Okay? But that's how these folks make money. This can't come as a shock to any of you, right? You take a $5,000 Rolex into a pawn shop, you're going to get $2,500 for it. I mean, you know that going in, right? And you know that here too. Or you should know it here. That's an interesting industry, by the way. Because there are an awful lot of people that win lawsuits that are spread out over a number of years that ultimately need money for something, and they'll go to, there's actually a company in Richmond called McNay Settlements that does this stuff as well. Don McNay's got pretty big in this area. But they've got to pay you less than this thing is truly worth, or they can't make any money. The next question, please.
Assume that Boeing and Kroger earned the same ROA of 12%.
We talked about this too, didn't we? Probably use those companies. Yeah, go ahead.
Show using the tools at your disposal that the way they earn that 12% is likely entirely different.
Yeah.
Keep in mind their product lines.
Yeah, okay. We talked about this, right? We talked about the fact that, as a matter of fact, I think Jordan looked it up. Kroger's net profit margin is about 1%, and if they get much higher than that, you'll see fireworks going off in whatever building they live in across the river. So if they're going to get a 12% rate of return, remember this is basically that return of or ROA decomposition, right? We decomposed ROA into the net profit margin times total asset turnover. So if Kroger's net profit margin is indeed 1%, their total asset turnover has to be 12 to get them to a 12% ROA. And that would not be an unusual total asset turnover for Kroger at all. Remember, it's sales divided by total assets. The total assets, folks, in a Kroger store, as we probably discussed, the big stuff there, other than a bunch of wooden shelves, is point-of-sale terminals and refrigeration equipment. Okay, and again, if you sit at a Kroger store and listen at a good time, listen to all the damn beeps as things are being scanned through there, they are firing an incredible amount of revenue through those stores. So their total asset turnover could easily be 12. Boeing, on the other hand, with their gigantic asset base, I mean, they have manufacturing plants bigger than most towns. There's no possible way they're gonna turn those over a significant number of times in a given year. So in their case, these numbers may be reversed, right? Kroger may be a 1% net profit margin at 12 total asset turnover. Boeing may be a 12% net profit margin and a 1 times total asset turnover. And that is distinctly possible. You can have all kinds of companies with exactly the same ROAs arrived at in completely different ways, And this would be an example of that. You got here for part of it anyway.
I did.
Poor guy's actually working. So if you happen to call Fidelity and didn't get an answer, now you know why. Any questions about the Kroger Boeing thing? Okay, what's next?
Why is the coefficient of variation the appropriate measure of standalone risk?
The only other alternative, right, would be the standard deviation. And we know that not taking it that additional step can get us in trouble because we have to compare the amount of risk that we're taking with the return that we expect to earn. If we don't do that, we get into that situation like I showed you with the 10% standard deviation and 100% standard deviation. And if you just looked at that, you would have said that the asset, I think it was B in that case, with a 100% standard deviation was substantially the riskier of the two. But the minute I gave you return data or expected return data, you realize, boy, there's almost no risk in security B because its rate of return was huge, substantial risk in security A because its rate of return was not. We're basically standardizing a standard deviation by comparing it to the rate of return that I get. It gives us the amount of risk that I'm taking per unit of return, right? And that's very critical. It's very critical. What's next?
The next one is walking down the middle of the road.
Okay. What's next there then?
After that is how would you compute the beta of a 5-stock portfolio?
These people must just really have ticked me off somewhere along the way. This is a very difficult exam, and I'm not saying yours won't be as difficult, but it won't be the same. What's the answer to that question?
You can't.
Thank you. There's the 2 words that you need. You can't. Why?
Because you have to.
It's not diversified.
It's not diversified. Folks, we talked about the fact that beta, the word beta should not cross your lips unless you are dealing with a well-diversified portfolio. 5 stocks is not going to get you there. It's just simply not going to get you there.
Is 25?
25 to 30 is what we deem to be the minimum. And again, we didn't just make that number up, folks. We've been able to show that the law of large numbers and several other things gets us off the hook for company-specific risk at about that level. Randomly selected from a universe of all securities. Okay?
Obviously, the average too, the weighted average of the securities makes a difference, right? Is there a cutoff? I mean, if you got 25 and you got 99% one and 1% the other 24, that's not diversified.
Okay, when you say 99%,
Of your dollars.
Of the value.
oh, no, that's a very good point. That's a
So
very
if you
good
have
point.
76% of one stock,
Oh, no. When we say, when we say very good point. Yeah, when we say, thank you. When we say randomly chosen, right? We've got 25 shares in this portfolio, and we've got 4% in each of them under that circumstance. Thank you very much. If I had not made that clear, and obviously I hadn't, we needed to, right? We say randomly chosen. We're talking about not just 25 different shares, but in that case, a 4% contribution in each of them to get to 100%. We say randomly chosen, folks, we mean randomly chosen. We're gonna take this chunk of money, and if we have $1 million, okay, and we're gonna look at 25 shares, we're gonna put $40,000 in each of them, okay? And then we're gonna put $40,000 in 25 randomly chosen. No, you're exactly right. Everybody understand the question here. If we had 99% of our money in one of those securities and 1% spread among the other 29 or 24.